it's not like
it comes down to
that specific
cultural norms in certain time periods.
Yes.
You know, yes, we are aware of history, and we are aware of all of the atrocities that have happened in the world in the course of history, but there are all these little subcultures all over the world, and the community in which you live in is a culture, and you get used to that culture.
So the B is the bad guy. His brother, he's like,
he was very matter of fact about the fact that he was a pedophile when he was a kid.
His brother was always into little girls.
Yeah.
Always into little girls. And I'm sitting here going like,
I was disturbed by his attitude toward his brother. It's no big deal. I mean, he raped my little sister, whatever. Like what? How are you so nonchalant and blasé about this? Like, I'm borrowing Destiny's word because it was perfect. Blasé.
Yeah.
That was his attitude.
His attitude was very like, that's just the way he's always been. And you sit there and you go like, and it never bothered you. But then the church, who heard about this, sends him to a counselor. And this counselor,
so all of this.
The whole situation is just bad. like that in and of it's just, and the thing is like, people are so like, they think that humans are brought here and they are built to be bad. And there's no sort of mentality maybe at some point that they weren't built to be bad. That sometimes it's nature. It's not nurture. Ted Bundy's case, I think we'll go on that on another topic.
We'll go off on Ted Bundy next time.
Because Ted Bundy is a prime example of what the difference between nurture and nature.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
True. Watch it. Watch it. It's called Abduction in Plain Sight.
Mm-hmm.
On Netflix, and you said YouTube.
There's a version on YouTube where if you there's another title in front of that title, but you can see that it's over an hour long, so you just click on that one. And you made a good point that it was his manipulation that caused them to let it happen. But one of the main things was after he goes to this counselor who. You find out later that he had lost his license and shouldn't have been counseling, and, well, that's apparent. But he'd been sent to this counselor because he was a repeat pedophile. Mm-hmm. And that comes out later, too. After the book was published, a lot of women came forward and said, you know, he molested me when I was a child and this and that. And so he was a serial pedophile. And his bishop knew that and had sent him to this counselor who was crazy also. And so under the advice of this counselor, he tells Bob Berchtold that, you know, part of his therapy is that he needs to lie in bed next to Jan, and that will help solve him and get rid of his
I don't know how much it was that. He gave him tapes that repeatedly talk about something that's very sexual in nature. And maybe it was this, like, if you can force yourself not to
act on your impulses.
Not to act on your impulses. So this is trying to create that impulse, and you're just supposed to not do it. And maybe that's what his mentality was. I don't know how much of laying next to...
Yeah, maybe the counselor didn't say that. I don't know. That's how he used it.
To be able to lay next to her is to listen to these tapes.
First of all, he goes down and he separates Jan, in a kind of a gaslighting fashion, separates Jan from her sister by building them 2 separate bedrooms. Because that would have been the first red flag.
To separate, yep. Don't you want your own room?
But yeah, I mean, when you're a teenager, you're on the verge of being a teenager, you do want your own room. But he used that to separate them. So then, the parents let him sleep in the same bed with her for months. This wasn't a one-time thing or a 2-time thing. This was months. And what I couldn't get my mind around was, A, why they were letting that go on, why they didn't suspect that something was going on, why they thought it was okay, and why his wife was okay with it.
Who was in a relationship. Oh, why
Berchtold's wife.
Berchtold's wife.
Why was Berchtold's wife with it?
She is blind to all this. In fact, she was probably manipulated and probably molested.
We didn't
when
hear anything about Berchtold's
Yeah.
family, so we don't know.
Yeah, there was not anything in there, and it's probably because they didn't know anything particular. But I would not doubt it if his wife was abused before he married her.
Or something.
Something happened where he could get her to do what because she's the one who convinced them to sign the affidavits.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It was just all so bizarre, and the fact that they just were just so
okay.
Oh, yeah, we don't see anything wrong with that, you know. And I kept going back to, I grew up in McCowan, very, very small, population 700 ish town that was an LDS community. So yeah, we were,
Let me tell you exactly why they didn't think anything of it to a degree. Besides the manipulation part of it, besides the whole friends and things part of it, but they were hoping that they had a close enough relationship with their 12-year-old daughter that if she felt violated or she felt threatened or if anything were actually happening, that she would open up to her family. That's what they were.
They did say that.
Yeah, like she never said anything was bothering her or that this was bothering her. So why make a big deal out of something that she's not making a big deal out of? And she loved him.
Yeah.
Like you see pictures of them in this documentary. He looked like their dad. Like she was more in like this sort of loving embrace, thing. And I think that about my daughter. But I know for a fact my daughter keeps a lot from me. And I don't know if that's because...
Well, and this goes back to, like I was saying, I come from McCammon and it's a very sheltered community, but my parents in particular would never have been that naive and never had... They would have questioned. Because they questioned me a couple of times when I had been alone with, friend or family member that they didn't completely trust. But...
This was after that. You can't ask your mom and your dad if they ever felt or if they ever understood maybe it was
this wasn't in the paper.
Right.
What had happened?
Well, it was in the paper in regards to the kidnapping.
But that's it. They never
about the molestation or anything like that. Yeah.
I think it's just the way that they weren't naive to the workings of the real world. But I think this goes back to the fact that Jan's parents really did believe that she would tell them.
Yeah, I think they really
were
felt
not
it. Yeah,
aware like we are today that when these things happen to kids, they are threatened, and they don't feel safe telling someone else about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is,
we know that now.
We know
that now because it's more publicized what happens when a kid is molested or abused.
They also didn't realize she was drugged.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that was probably happening to her, she wasn't aware of because she was drugged. And that's a complete extreme on that side because a lot of times the alcohol might play a part, but there's a rarity that they actually are drugged. Mm-hmm. And then if they believe that they did say, because at that point she never did think that there was an issue with it. Her parents were okay with him laying in bed with her. She never felt like she never mentioned that she was molested prior to.
No, there was just the one incident on the trampoline that made her uncomfortable, and that was the only thing that made her uncomfortable up until the point that he took her.
Yep.
And then, even then, she said she would look up the leaves and not she'd take herself out of the situation when he was molesting her, but even then, he had her so brainwashed that she didn't really realize that it was wrong.
She felt that it was wrong,
uncomfortable,
but she didn't. Yeah.
She thought it was.
It's a sad and scary situation that there are bad people out there that are like this. It's crazy. This story is just crazy.
Mm-hmm. It's really crazy. Anyway, so like we said, you need to go out there and watch it. Let us know what you think down in the comments. Let's start a discussion. Let's talk about this.
Yep. What as parents do you do? Like, I try to tell my child no matter what, if they ever feel threatened or anything, to talk to me, but at the same time, I can only do so much. Like I can only tell her so much. So I'm hoping the school's emphasizing that. I'm hoping that her dad's emphasizing that. You know, I can only do so much, and then you have to hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a scary situation with children.
Very scary situation. I've always felt like the death of a child, everyone says, is the worst thing a parent can go through. And I do agree that that is one of the most horrible things that can ever happen to you. But I've always felt that the worst thing that could ever happen to a parent is to have a child missing and not know where they are, and not know what's going on with them, and not know if they're even alive or dead. So yeah, it's a very scary situation.
Terrifying.
But again, that brings back, their daughter was missing for months and months and months, and they forgave the kidnapper and signed the affidavits anyway.
I don't think that they forgave the kidnapper. I think that they felt like they had to do it. And then at the same time, in their religion.
That's when she started that affair with him, was after this, when he was living in Utah.
She did, but she didn't know that anything happened.
Still though, he kidnapped the daughter and she was missing for 4 months.
And they got married.
They went through that horrifying, my child is missing thing, and then still, I would never talk to him again, even if I thought nothing happened. And
I would want to kill. I would
still want to kill him.
I'd want to kill him.
And
anybody take my child away.
She started an affair with him after that. It's just so mind blowing and so mind boggling, everything that happened.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I
don't know. Go watch it. Go watch it.
Go watch it. Tell us what you think after you're done watching it. If you have watched it, tell us what you think down in the comments below. Let's talk about it. What do you guys think? Do you think that they're completely naive, or do you think that you could see the manipulation actually winning over? So,
what would you have done? Yeah.
Cut off his dick.
Yeah. Lorena bobbing him. We'll talk about Lorena Bobbitt sometime.
Hey, she might have had a reason.
Well, of course she did. We'll talk about it later. Okay, like, comment, subscribe. Thanks, guys.
Who's calling you?
Somebody unknown name.
Oh, okay.
Why are you calling me? Help, hurry. I gotta help, hurry.
Help, hurry.